I revealed a dark secret to my cheating wife. The shocking moment I confessed to poisoning her and her lover. Hello, dear listener. Please subscribe to our channel and enjoy the story. I've always prided myself on being a calm, rational person. I'm not one to make rash decisions. At least, that's what I always believed about myself. But sometimes life pushes you into situations where everything changes. You find yourself breaking all your own rules. Sometimes, when you're betrayed, something inside you shatters. And when that happens, you feel a strange kind of freedom, a freedom to do anything. I had always considered myself a decent husband. I wasn't perfect, but I worked hard, loved my wife Sarah, and we had a comfortable life. We had a home, a dog, and a group of steady friends. We didn't have any major problems, at least not at first. But the cracks began to show. They started small. Text messages left out in the open, odd hours of work, the occasional late night. I brushed it off as her being stressed, maybe overworked. But my gut kept telling me something wasn't right. I'm not a paranoid man, and I'm not one to snoop, but there comes a point when you can't ignore the nagging feeling anymore. One morning, I found her phone unlocked on the kitchen counter. That was when I saw it. A conversation between Sarah and a man named Derek, someone I didn't recognize. I hesitated. Part of me thought about walking away, leaving it all to her to tell me when she was ready. But my curiosity got the better of me. I opened the messages, and there it was. Can't wait to see you tonight. I'll make sure everything's set. You know how he is. Then came a message from Derek that stopped me cold. We're almost there. It's just a matter of time. A rush of disbelief hit me. I kept telling myself there had to be some misunderstanding. But deep down I knew. The late nights, the distance, the lies. This wasn't just an innocent flirtation. Sarah was having an affair. But it wasn't just any affair. Derek wasn't some random fling. He was connected, dangerously so. He was a businessman, one who had a knack for shady deals, someone with enough influence to quietly drain me without me even realizing. It dawned on me. Sarah wasn't just cheating on me. She and Derek were conspiring together to destroy me. I pieced together their plan, a slow, insidious plot. They intended to push me into financial ruin, setting me up for failure at work with a series of small, deliberate mistakes that would be impossible to recover from. Derek, with his legal connections and shady business dealings, was orchestrating the whole thing. They wanted to take everything I'd worked for, my job, my assets, even the home we'd built together. At first, I was numb. But that numbness quickly morphed into something else, rage. And not just any rage. This was about revenge. But I didn't want quick retaliation. I wanted something more, a punishment that would make them feel every ounce of what they'd done to me. I spent weeks gathering evidence, quietly observing Sarah, tracking her every move. The more I learned, the clearer my path became. It wasn't just about confronting her. I had to make them both pay. But I needed patience. Striking too soon would only give them the chance to cover their tracks. I wanted them to live in constant fear, unsure of when the walls would come crashing down. The perfect opportunity came on the night of a dinner party. Sarah had invited Derek over, thinking I wouldn't be home. But I had other plans. I made a trip to a specialty shop that sold rare, slow-acting poisons. I chose ricin, undetectable unless you knew exactly what you were looking for. It worked gradually, making the victim feel ill without them realizing what was happening. Just enough to cause discomfort, but not enough to kill them outright. I wasn't interested in their deaths. I wanted them to suffer, to feel their bodies betray them as Sarah had betrayed me. I watched them through the window, laughing and chatting, completely unaware of the storm brewing just outside the door. They'd drink the wine I'd poisoned, feel its effects in about 30 minutes, nausea, dizziness, weakness. By the time they realized what was happening, they'd be too weak to help each other. That was the plan. But then, as the minutes ticked by, doubt crept in. They weren't just drinking any wine, they were drinking my wine. The wine I'd selected over the years. How much had they drunk? Was it enough? What if the poison didn't work as I'd planned? The doubt gnawed at me, but I pushed it aside. This wasn't about guilt, it was about justice. They had already crossed the line. I would finish it. They would pay. I opened the door, and they looked up, startled. The tension in the air was thick, suffocating. Sarah stood up, glass still in hand, her face flushed. Derek was still seated, eyes wide in shock. "What is this?" Sarah asked, trying to sound casual, but I could hear the tremor in her voice. "You don't need to pretend anymore," I said slowly, my voice calm, controlled. "I know everything." I took a step forward, and Derek's confusion shifted to realization. But then, the poison started to take effect. First the nausea, then dizziness. Sarah's hand tightened around the glass, but Derek seemed to understand what was happening. His face drained of color. "What did you do?" he gasped, his voice trembling. "Me," I said, a cold smile on my lips. "I'm just an observer. You two did this to yourselves." Panic spread across their faces. Sarah stumbled back, clutching her chest. Derek stood frozen, looking between her and the wine glass in her hand. His voice shook as he whispered, "What is it? What did you give us?" "Ricin," I said, enjoying the irony in the word. "It's an old trick. You won't die, at least not yet. But in about 30 minutes, your insides will start to shut down. By the time you realize what's happening, you'll be too weak to help each other." "What do you want?" Sarah whispered, her calm facade completely shattered. "Everything," I said, my voice low and dangerous. "Your secrets, your lies, and in the end, your lives." But as I watched them struggle, something unexpected happened. Derek, weak but desperate, lunged at me. He barely made it a few steps before collapsing. Sarah fell to her knees beside him, her face twisted in agony. That's when it hit me, the horrible realization. I had underestimated the poison. I thought it would be slow. I thought they would feel it over time. But ricin doesn't just kill, it suffocates, destroys from the inside out. They were already beyond saving. What had I done? I stood there, paralyzed, as I watched them gasping for air, their bodies convulsing. Sarah's final desperate whisper cut through the air. You didn't plan for us to die. I didn't plan for this. But it had happened anyway. And now there was no turning back.